there, it's Rachelle Morgan here from Show Me Hope, Tri-County Mental Health, and also from Soundscaping Source. In this video, I want to talk to you about the different phases of disaster. Now, we often think about a disaster as a tornado or a flood or a big fire or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that we're familiar with here in the Midwest. Those are the kinds of disasters that we see. And when they happen, a tornado happens pretty fast, and then we start recovering right then after. The pandemic is a little bit different because this disaster is unrolling over time, and so that this impact we're still being impacted over a long period of time. So we're recovering from this disaster in a different way than we might if it were a tornado. Fortunately, we have some information about how communities tend to go through disasters together. That's part of what we've been learning here at Show Me Hope as we prepare to support the community through this disaster. And I thought it might be helpful for you to see this as well. So let me show you this picture. Okay, so these are the phases of disaster. And this picture comes from SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration here in the United States. This was part of the training that we had here at Show Me Hope as we're learning more about disasters and disaster recovery. So this is a picture of the emotional roller coaster as we go through recovery from a disaster. And you see there's a big up and a big down, and then there's little ups and downs along the way. Now with COVID, we had a little bit of this pre-disaster period in January and February when we were hearing news from other parts of the world that this virus was starting to spread. Then we had the impact really start in March, early spring. This was about 6 months ago, is the time that I'm recording this video. And that impact is lasting for a pretty long time. So to some extent, we're still in this impact stage. Also on a smaller level, the impact is hitting different communities differently. So right now with school starting, we're feeling the impact differently than we were in the middle of the summer. So one of the things about disaster is that when something really awful happens, we as a people tend to pull together and take these heroic actions to pull together as a community and to start to help. So when we do this heroic stuff, or when we see it, it makes us feel good. So these are things like everybody putting out signs that say, "Thank you, essential workers." We see people pulling out their sewing machines and sewing hundreds of masks and giving them away for free. We see people gathering so much food that it was hard to give it all away, donating food to people who had lost their jobs or who needed whose kids weren't in school, and so they needed different ways to get food. So when those things happen, we get to this honeymoon phase where we're all pulling together and we're all doing the things to help us as a community through the disaster. But then, as we start to take a look around doing this inventory and we realize that it's going to take a really long time to get through this disaster, that's when our moods kind of plummet. And we start to feel these emotional lows when we start thinking, wow, how are we going to make it through this? You might be experiencing grief. You might be, sad. You might be confused. You might be angry. And then, when you're angry at somebody else, they get angry. And so there is these really difficult, low emotions that we might be feeling. While we're in this disillusionment phase, we're realizing that it's going to take a long time to recover from the disaster, that there are a lot of resources that are not there for us that we need. And we can get irritated with all kinds of people, from our next door neighbors to the politicians to even our kids' teachers or our own doctors and nurses. And that can be really challenging too, if you're on the receiving end of some of that negative emotion. Every time there's a trigger event, that sends us even lower. So school starts and we can't have back to school night. We can't have the football games like normal. That's going to send us a little bit lower, right? This disillusionment period is really long. if you look at this chart, they're saying up to a year after the impact is when maybe we'll start getting through to some of this reconstruction. It might even be longer for this pandemic because we are still experiencing the impact of this disaster. We maybe haven't even really gotten to the recovery stage yet. So if you're feeling bad, that's why we're in this stage where we are disillusioned, or we're feeling kind of stuck, possibly, where it feels low and then we get lower and then we feel a little better and then it gets low again. If that's what your experience is right now, you're not alone. Our federal organization has this chart to explain this emotional experience that we're having. I think the thing that's encouraging to me is, number one, knowing that I'm not alone, you're not alone in experiencing this disillusionment phase. But number two, there is going to be reconstruction. We are going to have a new beginning. We're going to work through our grief. We've got some other videos on this channel that talk about that. And even though there's going to be setbacks ahead, we are going to get back to a place where things feel good again and things feel normal again. It may be a new normal. It may be different than it was in 2019, but we're not going to be stuck in this disillusionment phase forever. Okay? So I hope that brings you some courage and some helps you to feel a little bit better, knowing that you're not alone, that many communities have been through this before, and that we get to the other side of it, okay? We've had a lot of experience with this in the state of Missouri, which is why the Show Me Hope program is so strong and why we're very well equipped to help all of us to get through this pandemic together. If you are experiencing those emotional lows, if you need someone to talk to, or you're not even sure how to help yourself start feeling better, then give us a call. Underneath this video, we have our phone number for the disaster recovery helpline, the disaster distress line. You can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you can text, and we'll get you some help, do some free and confidential crisis counseling to help you through this pandemic, okay? We are all in this together. If you have any words of encouragement that you want to share with the community at large, feel free to leave a comment below this video here, and we're just going to keep on going, all right? I'll see you again in another video.